Boom. We're here. We're going to get a little housekeeping out of the way. If you are listening, rate and subscribe. Share the podcast. We want to connect with you. If you are also listening, you can watch the podcast at Big Moo TV. We want to connect with you there. Share. Go to bigmoodcoach.com. Find everything I do there. So today we have, so let me preface it with this. I'm very reluctant to have fitness people on the podcast because I've been in the industry for a long time. I'm like very particular about who do I want to talk about this with. And I've been following you on social media for a quick minute. And, I was like, this might be the person I want to talk to. So today we have Gabby Ybarra with Ellevtd Fit Club. Oh, I did it. Well, the reason that I'm so hard is like, that's not what I want to talk to. That's not like the big thing I want to talk to you about. I want to get to know you. This is an opportunity for me to get to know you as a human being. And then we can talk about your business and all the stuff that has culminated from there. And another interesting thing that I want to talk about is your recovery journey and your background in like nightlife, because I think we all on Instagram, you see nightlife, the women in nightlife, bottle girls and all of that. And we don't hear the story of like what that's like. There's definitely trauma there that I don't even know if we'll see if you know, but yeah, we have Gabby Ybarra here. What's up?
What's up, Eric? It's so nice to be here.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Yeah. So
thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell people your story. Where are you from?
So I am from Modesto, California, which is a pretty small town in the Central Valley. So just think agriculture and the smell of cows.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. So what was your upbringing like?
So I am the only girl. I have an older half brother and a younger brother who is 2 years younger than me. Parents are still married.
Wow.
And yeah, I think it's 35 years or something like that. Crazy. So we kind of all grew up together in the Central Valley. I mean, there's a lot that goes into my upbringing, but we can get into that.
No, we could talk about it.
You want to go about it?
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
Yeah. So, the interesting thing and the interesting kind of work that I'm doing right now is inner child work, which is amazing. I started having, these thoughts of my story and kind of like these struggles. I'm trying to figure out, where did these struggles come from? What brought me to the behaviors that I have? What brought me to my perspective and the reactions that I have in a lot of things, right? And so I'm like, okay, I either go into the jungle and do ayahuasca or I get a coach and start doing some inner child work, because I really need to dig down into the root of why I've done the things that I've done, kind of, how my behaviors have come into play. So recently, I have been doing an inner child program with a coach. And it's been awesome because we are kind of digging back into the trauma from my past. And I kind of always walked around with thinking like, okay, yeah, I wasn't raped when I was younger. I didn't have like an alcoholic parent that like beat me all the time. Why do I do the things that I do in my adult life? But as I started thinking about it, I was like, I do have trauma. It might not be these grand, huge, big events, but the kind of trauma that I dealt with was very prevalent to how I act in my adult life. There is a lot of mental health issues that stem back from my childhood that I still deal with now.
What are those? What, if you
So
don't mind my asking?
yeah,
Can we
no,
talk
not
about
at
that
all.
stuff super openly on here?
Yeah. So I think the biggest traumatic thing that I have gone through in my childhood was my brother. So my younger brother is 2 years younger than me. He wasn't the best behaved kid. Always kind of got in trouble at school, picked on me a lot. You know, woke me up in the middle of the night, like messing with me, pulling my hair, like always basically making me feel really unsafe. So he did have some pretty big behavior issues / slight learning disabilities, which ended up snowballing into schizophrenia. So now he is, 32 years old and is fully schizophrenic on medication. So it's manageable. But I think that dealing with that as a kid
Yeah.
definitely kind of affected a lot of the things that I went through as I got older.
So when did because that is that's not even passively traumatic. That's
Yeah.
profoundly traumatic. Dealing with my diagnosis, my sister had to watch me struggle with that, and I know for sure that traumatized her. And then the feelings of being unsafe, the feeling of just what's the word? Not remorse, but watching someone you love struggle.
Yeah.
That's traumatic. How did that manifest itself in like your teen years, and like what did your teen years look like, and when did the alcoholism and those kind of behaviors start to manifest? And doing the inner child work that you've done, where do you draw those back to?
So I feel like it manifested in ways like my parents put a lot of pressure on me because I became kind of like the child that had a little bit of hope of becoming something, right?
Yeah.
So because they started to, I feel, lose a little bit of hope in my brother being successful, they put a lot of pressure on me, to get good grades, to be this good girl, to make all the best decisions, to be on the sports teams, to, be on, honor roll, all of these things. So I started to feel a lot of pressure in that.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of started to snowball into like, I'm not good enough effect because I never felt like I can own or I can manage to take on all of those things.
Perfectionism.
Yeah. So I think once I started feeling that I wasn't good enough, I started, maybe kind of dabbling a little bit in the party scene when I was a teenager. Not so much. My parents were still pretty strict, so there wasn't a lot of opportunity for me to party. But when little opportunities did arise, like, of course, I experimented. And I felt when I did experiment, it was a release, right?
Yeah.
It was a release from that pressure that I had been put on. It was a release from that unsafe feeling I felt around my brother. And it was escapism, and it did start in those teenage years when I started to feel it. Oh my gosh, freedom, right? I don't have to worry about all of these little things anymore. I can just be free. I can be myself. I also, what also comes along with feeling not good enough is I've always been kind of shy. I've always been like a little bit of a shy person, quiet, so there was a lack of confidence there. So when I did have the drinks, the confidence shot right up.
Yeah, that was
right. So then I started feeling confident about myself and I started gaining that validation from other people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you fully like get into nightlife scene, and what was like the tipping point for alcoholism for you? Like, because I'm hearing them like the beginning stages, but when did it become drastic enough to feel like you wanted a sober life?
So, I mean, I can kind of start from when I moved to San Diego. I feel that was...
How long have you been here?
I've been here for almost 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I moved to San Diego after spending some time in Santa Cruz. So I attempted to go to, oddly enough, a Christian school.
That was going to be another question. You grew up super Christian.
I actually didn't grow up super Christian. I grew up in the Catholic home. So I went to catechism. I, did the whole First Holy Communion, all of that. But it actually wasn't until I was about 18 to where I started kind of being interested in the spiritual world and started, kind of going to church here and there, kind of getting in touch with church groups. Because I was interested. I always felt this little calling in me that I knew I believed in God. I knew that there was a higher power. I knew that there was something bigger than myself. So I just kind of started dabbling when in my later teen years, about 18. And then I did get involved with the church. And then I was like, this is great. This is kind of what I need, even during my later teen years, I was actually dating a high school boyfriend who ended up being a heroin addict, and I had no idea. I had no clue. So me going to the church was a good place for me to stay away from him. And, he came clean to me one day. I actually found some stuff and I'm like, what is this? I'm a kid. I don't know what this stuff looks like. I don't know how people act when they're on these kind of drugs. I just thought the kid was tired all the time, So as I was kind of coming out of that relationship, he went to rehab and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't be a part of your life anymore. And I don't want to leave you on these terms, but this is just not a place for me. So started going to church, started being a part of the church scene, ended up going to a Christian college on the Santa Cruz Mountains. Loved it, great environment. Just kind of fell off. I turned 21 during that time.
Yeah.
And I think even the crowds there that I was hanging out with started to kind of decline on the Christian quote unquote living. And we just started, acting like 21-year-olds, no shame in that. But I kind of took it a little too far. And that's and I started to see some behaviors kind of come in where I couldn't control certain situations. Lots of times where, hey, I did end up drinking too much. There were some blackouts. There were some bad decisions being made. So that kind of just happened here and there. It wasn't super consistent, but you can start to see the patterns evolving. You can start to see them come into play. So spent some time in Santa Cruz, decided that I wanted to live in San Diego. Why not? I had some friends that lived here. I came over here quite a bit to visit them. And I loved it. It was beautiful. It was near the ocean, but it wasn't as cold as Santa Cruz. So I was like, I love the weather. I love the people. It's a big enough city to where there's enough opportunity, but you still kind of have that small community-based feel, right? So immediately while I came into San Diego, immediately started working at the biggest pool party downtown, rager, all the best DJs were coming into this pool party and started bartending and literally was 26 years old making, $1,000 on one shift and just crushing it, right? Newly into San Diego, making a ton of money, coming into this crowd that was just party scene, living it up, just really, really living it up. So, I had a couple of episodes, maybe that, again, those patterns that were coming back.
What does an episode look like?
Just blackouts.
Bad choices.
Maybe ending up with the people that I shouldn't be ended up with.
Someone's house you shouldn't have been at.
Exactly.
You can say that. You can say that. That's what you've been alluding to.
Yeah.
But just to fucking say that.
Yeah, just making bad choices, man. Just making bad choices. But it was so normalized. Yeah.
So talk about okay. because we have a reverence culturally for the bottle girl, the Instagram influencer, that's just the culture right now. But we don't talk about like what that world is actually like. And so what are some of the, there's obviously positive things you experienced. You were living it up. That was how you described it. But what were some of the negative things you experienced living in that world? Because I'm sure it's like working in restaurants. Like working in restaurants is dope, but everybody's doing coke. You know what I mean? It's like it's like the underlying thing that people don't know about. So what are like the underbelly things that people aren't really sure of?
I think that was the biggest eye opener, was to see how many people were doing cocaine on a regular basis. Being a part of the industry, I mean, I knew it was out there before, but when I came to Southern California and became a part of the industry, it was just like nothing.
Yeah.
It was just a part of what everybody did. And I saw a lot of friends' lives get very enwrapped in it.
Yeah.
And I was just so taken back by how normal it was and how easily I was offered it on a regular basis.
Yeah. But you were able to say no?
Not all the time.
Yeah,
to be quite honest.
There we go. Just tell, what the fuck? Why are you hiding? Why? Tell the truth. You look like Kamala Harris. Have you heard that before?
No, I haven't.
You just
do I really?
Yeah, you did.
I'm like, wait, how old is she?
No, this fine.
She's great.
She's great. No, but why are you scared to say that?
I'm not scared to say it. It's just, I guess it's embarrassing, you know? Like it's very shameful and not anything that I'm proud of. I just feel like also too, my heart goes out to people who are just so stuck in it, you know? And
that's what we talk about on here, is that there's people in it. There's people in it. And even though you weren't like full blown cokehead, you experienced it, and you experienced people who have immersed themselves in it, and people get better.
Oh, yeah.
You know, people get better. And that's what, so we don't want to hold anything back here, you know, because people, you know, if they just hear that like it was good and you were living it up, then what's the story?
True. Yeah.
Then what the fuck is the story, right? Like, tell the story.
Yeah.
You know, there's no reason to be embarrassed about it, because look where you are now. And we're going to hear about everything you do now, what you were telling me outside, the work you do with kids, and like, There's all this beautiful stuff at the end.
Yeah.
But talk about the mess, because people don't find hope in just the fucking good part.
Yeah. I'll never forget, like, one time during a shift, somebody offered it to me, and it was like literally like a Tuesday, like 8 p.m. on a Tuesday. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, I thought this was just like something I'll do, you know, when you're out partying, you know, like at a party. But being a bartender, being a door guy or a bottle service girl, like, it was so alive and it was happening a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the part of it that I think it's glamorized. It's glamorized. And the people, so I wanted to hear your perspective on it. Was there anything else about that? Actually, fuck that. When did you decide you wanted to get out of that life and get sober? What were the catalysts there? Like, how long did you do that work?
You know, I feel like I started having a lot of feelings of wanting to get out, but it took me a long time to make that decision.
Okay.
I started kind of dabbling in like, what if my life just wasn't this? I didn't think there was another option though. I just thought that, hey, this is just the way things are. I'm a career bartender. This is the only thing that I'm going to do. And if this is going to be the only thing I'm going to do, this is what is going to be around me. This is just a fact. I didn't think there was another option. I didn't think that there was another option to not drink or to, you know, completely change my career. Not that I didn't think that I couldn't do it. I was always been a strong, hard worker. And when I put my mind to something, I absolutely conquer it.
Yeah.
But I just thought that money's good. I have the community
Leave
here.
well enough alone.
Yeah. Like why leave it? And even if I tried to leave it, like what would life be without these things? Like who would I hang out with? Where would I go? Like I was just so used to it. And I had an experience, in the midst of the party, in the midst of me being very much, in the scene, where I was sexually assaulted.
Okay. That's the stuff that people don't talk about.
Yeah. So one thing, we got to remember is that alcohol and drugs play such a big role in sexual assault in so many different areas. And for my story, it happened to be the owner of an establishment I was working at. And that was really hard. And that was the first, I think, like major red flag, like this stuff can happen to you and it's going to keep happening to you if you don't get out of it. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any intention to put myself in that situation. It was a situation where I had come in on a day off, sat down, did some work, had a beer or two, got approached by the owner. Hey, let's take some shots. And of course, I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, it's the owner, right? So it's something that I should partake in because, I want to get good with him. I want to be professional. Okay, yeah, let's take a shot, even though it's not a professional thing to do.
Yeah. But in that world,
in this world, taking a shot of, a nice tequila with the owner of the place that you work at, I was just trying to get in good with him and his family. And that just escalated into a really terrible situation, to where I had a good friend say, hey, I don't know if you recall exactly what happened tonight, but this is bad. This is really bad. I think you should think about your drinking because these situations are dangerous and they're going to keep happening to you if you don't start to become more aware of them. And I think that was my first red flag to where I was like, okay, maybe there's something else for me. It's so far-fetched. I can't even begin to think about quitting this industry. I can't even begin to think about quitting drinking. But that longing was there. That deep, innate feeling of I want to feel safe was there.
Yeah. So when did you, the feeling and the spark was there, but when did you decide you wanted to try to get sober?
Ooh, there's a story there.
That's hopefully what the questions do.
Yeah, there's a story there. So, okay. So I was in a relationship and we were about to move in together. Started shopping around for an apartment, found the place that we wanted, perfect place, got it, ready to move in a couple days. At the time, he was running this festival that was going to be in Liberty Station. And so prior to that, I had really wanted to be involved in this festival. I love helping people. That's my thing. I like being involved. One of the things that I love doing for people is just helping them, right? So I was kind of thrown off by the fact that he didn't ask me to work this festival for him. Mm-hmm. Boyfriend, fully in a relationship, about to move in together, and he didn't ask me to work the festival with him. So I was like, okay, well, what else can I help you with? I ended up running around town all day, picking up stuff for him. I get to go drop it off at the festival for him. And as I walk up, I see somebody that he's dated in the past working the festival.
Okay.
So I immediately was like, fuck this. I'm so upset. I had been wanting to work this, and you hire somebody you've dated in the past to spend all day with you at this festival working. while I'm at home, like packing stuff up, getting ready to move. So, what did I do?
Yeah.
I started drinking.
Yeah.
I got really upset and just started drinking. And I had some friends that were going to Tulum, Mexico the next morning at like 5 a.m. And I said, I'm going with you guys. So drunkenly wake up at 5 a.m., get in an Uber, meet them at the airport, go all the way. I think we stopped in Texas. We had a layover there, and then we went to Tulum, Mexico. And Tulum, Mexico is not anywhere near it. It is deep into Mexico, like deep into Mexico. So flew all the way there, drinking the entire time, yelling at my boyfriend on the other end, like, I can't believe she was working. I don't want to move in with you. I'm just absolutely wasted. So I barely even know what I'm saying. I'm just emotional. I'm wasted. I'm just so upset. So upset. So get to Tulum, spend the night there, wake up in the morning kind of sober, not really, but a little bit. And I'm like, I got to get out of here because that was our move-in day.
Yeah.
So get in a taxi, go all the way to the airport, basically beg my way back home because they weren't like, well, you bought a ticket, but you didn't schedule it back to like 5 days from now. Basically cried and begged my way home. Finally made it back to San Diego, basically 15 hours later, continuing to drink this whole time because I'm so emotional, continuing to just fully wrap myself in that really terrible, toxic behavior, covering up my feelings, trying to feel better, trying to feel at ease this whole time. And it's just escalating. It's just getting worse and it's getting worse and it's getting worse. Finally get back to San Diego. Boyfriend says, it's done. You said you didn't want to move in with me. So I drunkenly said, I don't want to move in with you. So he basically canceled everything and there was no saving it. And so I came back and we were basically both left homeless, and I don't mean homeless like we were on the street with nowhere to go, but we didn't have a home. All of our stuff was packed in storage or in a U-Haul, getting ready to move into that new place. And both of us were left without a home when I came back. So I took a couple days after that, let everything kind of settle in. I was hungover as shit for the next couple days. Obviously, the shame was there, the anxiety, the hangxiety, I like to call it.
Yeah.
It was there. It was weighing so heavy on me. And then it literally, I was staying at a friend's house on the couch. And I had driven over to a bank or something like that. And I'm sitting in my car and I just was thinking, and I said, everything that's bad that has happened to me has happened because I was drinking. Like any traumatic, painful,
it's the common thread,
moment. And I started writing it down. Yeah. And so then I got a notebook. I started writing down every traumatic, bad thing, big thing in my life that brought me pain. Right? I mean, and I'm not talking about my grandpa dying or anything like that. Just things that meant something to me that I lost, right? So I started writing all of those down and I read them all and I was like, yep, was drunk there. Yep, was drunk there. Yep, was drunk there. And I just looked at that list. And I think that was the moment where I called up my boyfriend, basically, who had just broken up with me. And I told him because he was the only person I felt comfortable enough to tell him. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm actually for real about this. I'm looking at this list. I don't want any of this stuff to happen to me anymore. And so I just basically started going full force then. And, like I said before, I had kind of dabbled in the idea of sobriety, right? I had started listening to a couple of podcasts here and there when I was hungover. I did the whole like Google search. How much do you drink per day before you know you're an alcoholic, I downloaded Annie Grace's This Naked Mind, which is a very like scientifical, it's a scientific-based approach on alcoholism and what it does to your brain and why people become addicted to it. And I started, listening to that on my walks here and there. So I'm starting to feed myself, these ideas, but it wasn't up until that moment where I was just like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I can't do this to myself anymore. And I don't want to hurt anybody else anymore. The fact that my decision and my behavior left somebody else homeless, not okay. Right? And I'm not saying that he's completely off the hook for hiring his ex-girlfriend, but I could have handled it in such a better, more mature, healthier way.
Got you.
Yeah.
So what steps did you take? What did your sobriety look like? How long have you don't drink anymore?
No. So that happened May 2019.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what steps do you take? What does your sobriety look like?
So
your recovery, what does recovery look like?
So originally I kind of stepped into AA here. I immediately when I made that decision, I immediately started just talking to people. So I called a really good friend of mine who I knew was active in AA. He gave me some really great advice. He's like, go to 90 meetings in 90 days. And so I said, okay, I can do that. And so we just started to go to meetings here and there. This was popping around town. And then, of course, I met people there and, conversation.
You made friends.
Yeah. And then I actually ended up going to, it's very, very similar to AA, but it's called Big Book Awakening.
BBA.
Yeah, BBA. So that's where I found a sponsor, and she walked me through the 12 steps, which was great. I learned a lot about myself, and I thought that was amazing that she just took me on right away.
Mm-hmm.
And now, since the pandemic, I am still going to online meetings. So initially, the beginning of the pandemic was really hard on me because I was very, very tempted many a times during that pandemic. Because
I didn't know you were so fresh.
Yeah, I was just like, I can't. I've lost my community.
Yeah,
I can't do this without my community.
Yeah,
and it was so amazing and beautiful how the sober communities literally just joined forces, met up in just different outlets and came together. And that was the glue that held me apart or held me together. That held me together. So yeah, and it was just a lot of quit lit, a lot of reading, a lot of podcasts. I'm really, really big on sobriety podcasts. So just listening to stories, really just intaking all of that. And one of the things I realized too, it's just it wasn't necessarily alcohol that was the problem. It's not. It was so much more that was deep down, that was rooted, that I had to figure out. So my life didn't become, it's just Gabby doesn't drink. It's Gabby has this whole transformation in becoming who she is, figuring out, the root of why she.
So who are you?
So who am I?
so that I've been doing some transformational work myself, and I've on the podcast that comes out tomorrow or 2 days before this. I talked about creating a declaration, like who do you want to be, who do you want to show up as. So I'm going to ask you. So you're fairly newly sober.
Yeah.
Who do you want to be? Who's Gabby today?
I think first and foremost, I am a woman of God. My faith is so important to me. I'm not necessarily this, hardcore, reading my Bible every day, but I do pray every day. I do talk to God every day. I do involve myself in service, right, with my church communities. And and that was really hard on me too. It was losing my church.
Yeah.
Shout out to Soul Church San Diego.
There you go.
Yeah. Amazing community. And I'm super excited. They're growing and it's going to be awesome. And I can't wait to, really fully submerge myself in that community again. I would love to bring a recovery program there.
Yeah.
Would love to. Like that would be my heart, is to bring a community of recovery to the church that I love. So I would say that's, first and foremost, who I am. I am finding my identity in my sobriety now. I am connected with some really amazing online communities.
Yeah, I got a meeting for you.
Oh, yeah. So I kind of did steer away from AA. And we can go into this and kind of my perspective on AA.
We don't have to talk about, like, we're per the traditions. We're not supposed to, like, even say AA.
Okay. It's anonymous.
Yeah, everybody on here knows
I forget
that I'm a 12-step guy. That's what I say. I say 12-step guy. But you could talk about your perspective, because the reason I say that is because I want every experience represented. So like AA, 12-step is an institution, just like the church is an institution.
Right.
Just like, our political structure is an institution. So if there is an opinion or a perspective on an institution, it should be able to be spoken about. It shouldn't be sacred. No one talks about it. That's dogmatic. That's authoritarian. So if you have a perspective on it, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think AA does amazing things for people. I think it saves people's lives. I think that it opened up a world to me that I didn't even know existed. And I think, hold on, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, it's all good. I think the 12 steps are great. I had an amazing experience with 12 step. I really loved, how intricate and deep it got. And for me to share that with somebody, it really just opened up my mind and my heart to a lot of things that I never explored before. So truly think that that's wonderful. I didn't necessarily at first initially feel completely comfortable there at first. I started to, as I started exploring different meetings, right? But me just walking into like the first one that I, came up from, I was like significantly younger and felt like maybe my story wasn't as, hardcore. Like
others,
I never ended up homeless under a bridge eating banana peels.
Yeah, I was a heroin addict. Yeah,
and everybody has a different story, but I was like, I want to connect with maybe somebody or other people or other groups or communities that maybe kind of have walked my same path.
Yeah.
And I've also had a hard time. So when I started reading the big book, I had a hard time accepting the fact that it was very man-driven.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was very male-driven.
A lot of people have a hard time.
And so it kind of got me thinking, like, shameful about myself. Like, dang, am I really like, just like, women aren't supposed to have alcoholic tendencies. Women aren't supposed to have drinking problems. This clearly says that it's a man's problem, and the women are the ones that are supposed to save the men, right? So I got this like just this vision of it being such like a man-dominated thing, which made me kind of feel like unwelcome into it.
Yeah.
And, I know that it's pretty outdated. I know that like 2 white men wrote it. So for me to connect with that, it was difficult for me to do that initially.
It all makes sense.
Yeah. So I like the principles. I understand the principles. It's just that another thing that I've had a difficult time dealing with too is, like I told you, I'm a woman of God. That is like my main source of what I feel connected to and what is going to ultimately save me. I feel with people that are fully submerged in the AA community, they're like, this is what's going to save you. And I think for me, I'm thinking to myself, but this isn't the only thing. Like, I feel like there are other things that can help me become the person that I want to be and not just this one institution,
Yeah.
right? Not just saying to me, oh, if you don't come every day, like you're going to fail. If you don't come every day, you will end up dead. And that's a message that I got. And so I was like, that's kind of off-putting to me because I feel like I'm stronger than that. Yes, am I powerless to alcohol? Yes, I can become powerless to alcohol, but I'm not powerless. I'm not powerless.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it kind of brought on this idea of that we are just so powerless.
Yeah.
And I just think I have a little bit more inside me.
But you know what's dope? And this is why I wanted you on here. And after you told me that you did 12-step a little bit, it's like, okay, like there's no monopoly on how to be sober. There's no monopoly. And I am an advocate. I've had people of all different faith practices, healers, shamans, Christian leaders, all in the 145 episodes of this podcast. We've had a wide variety of spiritual passages, spiritual proponents on the podcast. So there's no monopoly on God. There's no monopoly on how to stay sober. But that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about was what is your recovery look like day to day?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you mention that, it's just like there's no monopoly with this. So I think, okay, yeah, my God may be Jesus, but I fully think that there's so many other beautiful things in other religions. Like I take a lot from Buddhism, for example, like so many beautiful things about that I believe in and I think that are true. So kind of like with the thing with AA, yes, I think that's true, but I think there's also so many other things that together can encompass a beautiful recovery. So currently, I'm involved with an online community called the Luckiest Club, which is basically a club that was started by Laura McCowan, who is a phenomenal writer. She wrote a book called We Are the Luckiest, and it's about her journey in becoming a sober woman. So earlier on in the pandemic, she started this online community, and it just grew so quickly. And they have meetings all day, and I love hopping on there. And I'm able to. I've shared in like front of 300 people. Like it's amazing. People all over the world. I ended up actually connecting when I shared one time, I actually connected with a woman who lived in San Diego and we're like, awesome, let's meet up for coffee. And so we met up for coffee and now I have a sober friend and now we're going to go on a hike, next week. And like that to me is so amazing because I don't really have any real life sober friends, because I, do come from the industry, from the bar industry. So a lot of my friends are still very active drinkers. So and a lot of people in AA are just kind of have families or doing their own thing. And for me to find somebody my age and, wants to get out and go get our hike on, like I'm all about that, right? Yeah. Another awesome community that I've been involved with is Retired Party Girls. So again, all women kind of get together. We get together every Sunday night and we kind of just like go over our goals for the week, set some intentions, set some affirmations, kind of like share struggles that we have, all sober women getting together and just like talking and hanging out. And so using those online communities, again, just really diving into the podcasts, reading a lot, blogging myself.
You have a blog?
I write. It's not anything public, but I would like to make it public one of these days.
Make it public.
Yeah, I would love to.
People want to hear you.
I have some crazy stories. I've created like little rituals for myself. So
what is so besides saying you're a Christian, what is Christianity? And this is so awesome to talk about this right now because I literally had a shaman last week. So this is such that was last Friday and now to have you this Friday is so tight.
I love it.
But what is because spirituality is a journey, right? Like you can declare like I'm a Christian, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and boom, you're saved, right? That's how that works. I spent a lot of time in the church myself in the past like 7 years. So that's pretty much how it works. But what does your journey with Christ look like? What is your spiritual day-to-day practice with Jesus look like? If you're willing to share.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I first and foremost am a big believer in community. That to me is number one.
Why'd you fold your arms? What happened?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just comfortable this way.
I'm watching you.
Just comfortable. Yeah, community is really big to me. I believe that is what the church is, right? If we were fellowship. I mean, if we could all do it by ourselves, we would just stay at home and like read the Bible and pray. But that's not what it's about. It's about connecting with other people, sharing each other's faith. So after all this COVID stuff is over, that's what I'm most looking forward to is like getting together, having our community, praying together, all of that. As far as right now, me personally, a lot of prayer.
What do you pray for?
What do I pray for? I mean, I think I always start off my prayer with gratitude.
Thank you.
A lot of gratitude.
One of my friends asked me, like, I don't know how to pray. Just say thank you.
Yeah.
That's the easiest prayer you can ever do.
A lot of gratitude at first. I write down every morning 5 things that I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
And I think when you have a mind of gratitude, your day looks different, right? You're going through the motions of your day, thinking of things that you're thankful for because you're going to write about it the next day.
Yeah.
So it's just like you're thinking of like, you just, walking, oh my God, that's amazing sunset. I'm so thankful for that, this sunset, like when my dog just like comes up to me and licks my face, I'm like, I'm so grateful that she just did that right now. That was the cutest thing ever. And it's just like those little things. They don't need to be these grand things like, oh, I made 10K last month. I'm so grateful for this. Like, it is not about that. It is about those small things that you...
Yeah, God shows himself in those little things.
Absolutely.
They're so important. And, it's being open to them, being open to those little things and not always looking at the grand gestures, because there's grand gestures for sure. I've had some profound spiritual experience that were truly grand, like, wow, God is here. God, like I had an experience last week where I was like, wow, I have felt God in a tangible way. I know this exists, but then there's also those passive, the minutia in the world that makes you realize like, wow, this is a beautiful life that we're living. And San Diego, I think, is a very special city for that, because you can just be driving down the freeway and be like, oh, the way the sun's hitting right now, time stops, and that's God. And that could be a manifestation of God for you. And it's cool that we get to experience that. So let's talk about your business. Let's talk about let's talk about the other things you work on with the kiddos.
Yeah, absolutely. So I became a personal trainer earlier this year, and things have just been like blowing up. I just kind of went full force into it. I basically took a whole year program to work on it. Finally, everything just came together at the beginning of this year, and started my personal training business called Ellevtd Fit Club. So with that, I've taken the last part of my full name, which is Gabrielle. So it's ELLE and then Vded Fit Club. And it is a community-based fitness sort of a well-rounded wellness approach to healthy living. And when I say well-rounded, I'm talking about not just physical fitness, but what we put in our bodies, what we're eating, what we're drinking, our soul, our mental health. There's no health without mental health, right? So that's just what I believe in. I also want to incorporate recovery in it as well, because fitness was one of the elements that saved me out of that life.
Yeah.
Fitness
kept me sober too.
Absolutely. It has become so much more to me than just, looking good. I mean, that is the last thing on it. It has helped me with my anxiety. I've always dealt with anxiety, has been a huge part in helping me recover from anxiety, has been a huge part in helping me recover from toxic things like alcohol, like drugs, like all of that. And just all around just makes me feel better about myself.
Yeah. So who Who do you love to work with? Who's your what's your niche? As you're a business coach, I'm sure says, what's your niche? Who's your demo?
I love working with people that are hungry for change. You know, I don't necessarily want to work with or train with somebody who knows everything already. Like I want to, yeah, I want to coach people who, you know, are finding confidence in themselves and pushing themselves and taking them away from these habits that weren't serving them. And just, you know, trying to be positive to them in that way. And I'm not that coach that's going to be like, what? You ate a bagel? That's not part of your macros. It's just like, okay, that's life.
Yeah.
Like, and I kind of tie that into my recovery too. Like, you know, if somebody relapses, they had, you know, a beer and be like, okay, so you move forward. That doesn't mean it ends. That doesn't mean it stops and you fall back. You fall forward. Okay. You're falling forward and you're taking that as a learning lesson and you're just moving forward, you know? So I just want to help people become more aware of what they're doing, what they're putting in their body, how they're moving. Some people that I work with, you know, they're sitting at their desks all day and you can just tell that they're just not healthy. They're not healthy. So when I take them on and I'm, you know, helping them become stronger and they're just feeling better. They're just walking around with better posture, walking around more confident, walking around feeling better. Like that's what I love.
Yeah, that's why I had that vibe from you. That's because I'm very critical of the industry because it's so vapid, and it can be. It's a booming industry. You know, everybody's a trainer in San Diego. Everybody knows a trainer. Everybody's a coach. I did it for a number of years. I still take on a client here and there. You know, but I'm critical of the industry because there's so much emphasis on building a booty.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much emphasis on, you know, bikini body or, you know, and I don't want to nurture, at least on this podcast, I don't want to nurture that part.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's enough of that.
Yeah.
There's no shortage. And it sounds like what you're doing is more than that. So I had my inclination was right.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's my whole idea about Ellevtd Fit Club. You know, you're elevating yourself above that, right? You know, you're taking yourself to the next level of feeling that you are above what you thought was comfortable, you know, and I just want to bring about more positivity, just more body positivity in general, you know, like explaining and encouraging people to focus on how you feel, not what you look like.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always just like, well, how did you feel? Well, the scale didn't change. I'm like, but how do you feel? Like, how do you feel? How are you sleeping?
Yeah.
How is your energy? How is your mood? How do you feel?
Yeah. Okay. So talk about what you do with the kiddos. You said you love this neighborhood. We're in Barrio Logan.
I do.
So talk about what you do with the kiddos
this
here.
This neighborhood has my heart. So I actually work really close around the corner here at Monarch School. And I've been there for about a year and a half. And I work with kids that have IEPs, so they have slight learning disabilities. This is also a school that caters to homeless children and children who have kind of been in and out of foster homes or you know, have traumatic backgrounds. They all have, you know, pretty traumatic backgrounds. So we are part nonprofit. So we just do everything that we can to make sure that these kids' lives are just so enriched in community and just try to set them in the right direction because they don't really have that foundation in their home life.
Got you. And that's, you know what you said, that's homeless children. We're in one of the richest cities probably in the world, probably in San Diego. And we have homeless children here. Isn't that fucking wild?
Yeah.
I'm sorry I cuss so much.
No, it's okay. It is fucking wild. Trust me. It opened up my eyes and I just have been so blessed to be a part of their lives. And, I don't believe in living in a cycle, right? I believe that each and every one of these kids can amount to amazing and bigger things and break that general cycle that they have been in. And that's what I try to bring to them, whether that's in their academics, whether that's just in encouraging them, trying to set them up for the real world, because I believe that you can break that cycle.
Yeah, we can, and you can, and I can. So as we finish, I want you to plug all your stuff, plug all your Instagram, your website, if you have any of that. But I want you to also do one other thing, and I want you to finish with a declaration. So who are you? This I had someone do this to me today, all day today.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I had someone do this to me for 16 hours this weekend. So who are you?
Before I go into it, I did a practice the other night. I wrote a love letter to myself. So I lit a candle, put on some nice music, got in my little meditation space, and I got my pen and I got my paper, and I was writing to myself as if I was writing to a distant lover, right? Just absolutely. And it was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it was so weird. And it was this is kind of uncomfortable because I've never even gotten a letter like this before.
Yeah.
But it was an opportunity to give myself that kind of love that I needed, and I started naming stuff up like, I love you so much because, and this is where my declaration will come in, is because, I am a woman of faith and I care about my clients and the people around me and my communities so much and want to see them grow. And I want my story to inspire other people. And I want, them to know that no matter how hard it gets, you can always find your bigger why. You can always find your bigger why. If you think that this is, this is it, this is my life, it's like, what else is out there for you? What's your biggest why? I am super dope dog mom.
Dog mom.
Yes. And I just, at the end of the day, I just have a compassionate heart for people. And I want them to succeed. And I want, I just want to keep loving on people. That's it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's dope. So yeah, plug your Instagram for the people who are listening, plug your website, plug everything you got.
Cool. Yeah. So you can follow me on Instagram at Gains by Gabs. I have a website in the works for Ellevtd Fit Club. So if you follow me on Instagram, you will get updates into when that will go live. Also starting in January, I will be teaming up with my amazing yoga friend, Teal, who is an amazing Black yoga instructor. And we are going to be bringing a yoga / cardio hit session here to Barrio Logan.
Oh, dope.
It's going to be a half and half sweat session with some yoga. And we're just going to have amazing, just dope playlists. Everyone's going to have a great time. We're going to be doing that once a week starting in January. That will be called Serenity Sweat and Sound Waves. So again, if you follow me on Instagram, you will get updates when that is going to be ready to launch.
Dope. Thank you, Gabby.
Of course. Thank you.
We're out of here.